Oh, fuck.
We started a club in Ontario called ODOC. It was originally called the Ontario DeLorean Owners Club, was ODOC. ODOC's very first meeting was me and two other guys that owned a DeLorean in Ontario. We met at the Krispy Kreme Donuts. It was fun. It was good. It then kind of parlayed into this thing where there's like 63 owners in Ontario now, just over 120 something across Canada. And we started doing these local events. We were going to this thing called the Shecky Queue. That was Mike McPartlin. His nickname is Shecky. He's from Ireland. He originally came over from Ireland to buy DeLoreans to bring them back to Ireland. And he had a nice sizable piece of property in Brampton, Ontario. We would all go to his house every year for a big barbecue, park our DeLoreans all over his lawn, take a bunch of pictures. It's a great time. I was driving to that event in my stock DeLorean, and somebody was taking a picture of my car, and they hit me from behind so hard that it hit me to the car in front of me, that car to the car in front of it, and that car to the car in front of it. I got out of the car, stood up, fine, no broken arms, no broken legs, no blood, no nothing. Then I looked at my car and I just felt my heart break. And I was just like, oh my God, this is awful. The whole front was smushed. The impossible to find driver's front fender destroyed. Windshield was cracked. The back end of the car, the whole rear quarter panel was smushed in. The louvers were cracked. The fiberglass was splitting up into the air. It was just heartbreaking. Towed the car home. Didn't make it to the Shecky Queue that year. We were in the midst of moving from one house to another house, and the insurance company was kind of having a hard time figuring out what to do with this car now. I said, well, hey, I know a lot about the DeLorean community. I can help you get some prices, appraisals, fair values. It was with Haggerty, so it was like an agreed buyback thing that they had with me, first right of refusal. And they said, yeah, in order for you to buy this car back, we need at least 3 quotes to know what the value of this car is. Then we'll let you buy the car back at what we think is reasonable. The timeline of moving is creeping up. And I'm like, I really don't want to move a crashed car from one house to the next house. I'm asking the insurance company, what are we doing here? They're like, we don't know. We're still trying to figure out the value and how we're going to do this and what the payout should be. And the lady's like, let me just be honest with you. Just give me a number. If it's reasonable, we'll do it. I gave her a number. She agreed like that. And I instantly said, shit, I should have went lower. But I was able to buy the car back, and then my friend Gary was able to restore the car back to its former glory. When I say former glory, I think this car didn't look better except for maybe the day that it rolled across the factory floor. Gary did a fantastic job with all the fiberglass, all of the stainless steel work. We had another guy in Ontario who was like a big fiberglass shop that really beefed up a lot of the fiberglass on it. So, this car is solid now. It's got the whole soundproofing interior. It's, I want to say, almost better than across the factory floor, because I get in that car and it runs like a top. It's nice and quiet. I'm super happy to have that car back on the road. So that was crash number 1. And that was heartbreaking, but fully redeemed when me and Gary took it around the block again, and the car was better than ever. I even got a gas flap hood out of that one. That's a rare thing to get with a DeLorean these days. It originally had a grooved hood, and I was able to upgrade it a little bit and get a gas flap hood, which is super special for me. The second crash was the time machine. So this is the time machine that I got from the radio contest, turned it into the time machine, take it around, do local events, local Comic-Cons and stuff like this. And we were organizing a 80s and 90s car show in Ontario called Oblivion. And this lady that was helping us organize Oblivion, Tori, had never been in a DeLorean before. I was getting ready to move again, but this time instead of moving from Burlington to another house in Burlington, I was doing a big move. I was moving from Burlington to Miami. And Tori's like, hey, am I ever going to get a ride in this DeLorean? I was like, yes, today's the day. We're going to take you for a ride in the DeLorean time machine. So I was at my brother's house. I backed out of his garage and I backed my DeLorean time machine into the wall and dented my rear quarter panel. Again, super hard to see in the time machine. Didn't have a proper backup camera on this car back then. Now I do. Very important to get one of those. I had the car at my friend Justin's shop, Wells Auto. It's all he does is DeLorean repairs in Ontario. Justin had fixed that quarter panel, brought it back to life. Looks like there's nothing ever wrong with it. and I had Tori meet me at Justin's place so that I could take her for a ride in the time machine. We went to Taco Bell, had lunch, beautiful lunch. Then we went for a nice drive in the countryside with the time machine. There's a really cool road in Burlington called Rattlesnake Point. It's a big hill, nice windy road, and I figure it's a great country, safe place to drive Tori in the time machine. Well, I was wrong. It started raining. We were going down the hill as it started raining. Back end of the car gives out on me. Next thing I know, I'm heading almost off the escarpment. It's the Niagara Escarpment in Ontario. And it was a pretty big drop. If I'm falling off this ledge in a time machine, we would have been dead. Luckily, a tree stopped us from going over the edge of the escarpment. And the car, when it went to go up, kind of tilted on its side like this and ended up perched in this precarious position, just kind of teetering on the ledge of the escarpment. And Tori is in the passenger seat, and I'm kind of looking down on her, and she's freaking out, hyperventilating. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not a very good first ride in a DeLorean, but it's pretty memorable, right? Then she passed out. So I was freaking out. I'm like looking around. I'm like, I'm not bleeding. She's not bleeding. We're okay. But like an instant, the police, paramedics, fire trucks, everybody showed up. And I got this fireman pounding on the door saying, hey, is she okay? And I go, I think so. Like, I mean, she was just talking to me a minute ago. And then she woke up and she's like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. But then she started freaking out again and yelling. And they're like, sir, this lady's in distress. We need to get her out of your car right now. And I said, okay, this thing has an inertia switch. We got to push down on the door. You'll be able to open the door and we can get out. He's like, no, we don't have time for that. And before I could even say anything, the jaws of life came out. And this guy was cutting through the stainless steel on my car. And I was just hand in my head like this, just looking at Tori, looking at my door. I didn't know if I should cry or pass out myself. Part of me thinks the fireman kind of did it so he can be like, hey man, I used the jaws of life on a DeLorean, right? Long story short, they got us out of the car. Everybody was safe. Tori was fine. She hurt her arm a little bit from banging it when we rolled over on the side there, but that was the second crash. And that crash, the time machine went through insurance this time. It was a different insurance company. It wasn't Haggerty anymore. It was a company called Zare. And Zare Insurance moved pretty quickly. They had the car at Justin's shop, which was literally, ironically, it was just there getting the dent repaired. Now it was on a tow truck back to Wells Auto to get the time machine assessed. It took about a year and a bit just to get all of the parts sourced. We had to get a new door. We had to get new quarter panels. We had to get some fiberglass work. But that car is now back together, better than ever, and in Miami, living its second life as a time machine again. I don't want to become known as the DeLorean crash guy. I mean, I've crashed a stock car, I've crashed a time machine, and now we've got the original crash test DeLorean. Having walk away from both of those accidents that I was personally in, not a scratch on me, not a drop of blood, not a broken bone, not nothing, I would say the DeLoreans are super safe cars. And if I had to get in an accident in them again, I wouldn't say I'd gladly do it, but I'd feel safe.
I'm super pumped to announce that in 2024, VINwiki is partnering with Bridgestone. So throughout the year, you're gonna hear some great stories from their business, some awesome tire testing and things like that we're gonna do. I've had a lot of Bridgestone and Firestone products over the years and loved them all. I know that you will too, but I want you to check out their Potenza line of tires for sports cars, supercars, and hypercars. Whatever your needs, whether it's ultimate track performance, road performance, or all-season performance, there is a Potenza tire for you. So check them out at the link in the description below and let us know what you think.